them here representing you as well. It's great to see our majority leader, Darrell Coles, who has just done a tremendous job of managing the floor operations in the House. He has not only represented you and your area well, he's represented, I think, the legislature well in his role as majority leader, and certainly a person that I rely on very heavily in terms of setting policy and moving forward our agenda on the House floor. So it's great to see Darrell here, and we have our Vice Chair of Education, Walter Duke, I think was here. I don't see where Walter there. He is right in front of me. Walter, who is our go-to person, one of our true go-to people on education in the House. And it's been a pleasure to serve with Walter. Eric Householder, I know, is here. He's our Vice Chair of the Health Committee. So we have a great deal of the leadership of our caucus and of our legislature who live here in Eastern Panhandle. And Mike Volk is here. He's our Vice Chair of Pensions, which is a tremendous part of our budget and welfare and well-being of people who have retired, who have worked in our state. And John Overton, who John and I go way back. We shared an office my first term, first 3 terms, as a matter of fact. I shared an office with John Overton. And I can tell you all kinds of stories about John Overton if you want to hear them. But I always gave him a hard time. He's the longest serving member of the House, 30 years now. He is the person who each session presides over the House until a speaker is selected. So I was honored to have him being the one presiding over the House when I had the honor to be elected as the first Republican Speaker in 84 years. So, John, it's great to see you, and I appreciate his service both as the longest serving member, but also the chair of the Industry and Labor Committee in the House as of this year. So we're very excited to see him here. I think I saw Jill Upson. Jill is one of our new, we talked about Sarah Brown. Sarah and Jill are both new members who have brought so much energy and talent and ideas to the legislative process. And Jill is now in our interim committee serving as the chair of the Minority Issues Subcommittee, or Minority Issues Interim Committee. So we're very pleased to have Jill with us, and I'll tell you, she brings such tremendous talent and abilities and new ideas, and we're very pleased to be serving with her. But as I said, we have a great collection of legislators here. I'll let Bill talk about the senators, but it's great to see Charles Trump, who I have the honor to serve in the House with, and I still call him Delegate Trump every once in a while. Sorry, we give Bill a little bit of a hard time, but we train all the leadership of the Senate and the House, and then they go to the Senate. But we're very excited to see all of our members here, and it's great to be here with you. So let me just take a few minutes to share with you why we are incredibly excited about what took place from November 4th on up to this point. When we knew that we had the opportunity to be the leaders of the legislature, that we had the opportunity to set the agenda and to actually decide for the first time in 84 years as Republicans what was going to be placed on those agendas, what was going to be debated on the House floor, and what would ultimately become the public policy of West Virginia. We recognize that that's a great responsibility. It's a responsibility we take very seriously. But I have to say up front that it's a responsibility that was certainly easier from my perspective in the House, to have talented people like those that are here in the room, and also to be able to work with someone like Bill Cole, who I think we had just a tremendous working relationship. We worked day in and day out. We're talking with each other. We weren't holding things hostage as had happened in the past. But it was great to be able to work with Bill and his leadership team. And one other person that we worked very closely with that I didn't mention, he was not representing this area, but is also here with us today, is our finance chair, Eric Nelson, who had the unenviable task of writing the budget when he had been the chair of finance for less than 2 months. So he did a tremendous job. I think we were able to move our state in the right direction. We still have plenty of work to do in terms of our budget, but I think he did a tremendous job of getting our budget written in the short period of time that he had to be in that position, and it's great to have him here with us today as well. But let me just say a few things about what I think were the major accomplishments. In any given session, it's a pretty big deal if you have 3 or 4 big bills placed on the agenda and debated during the session. And I think that those of you who have followed the process in past years know that that's the usual thing. We come in, we spend the first couple of weeks having basically presentations from different committee or different agency heads, and you kind of get a slow start, and you get midway into the session, it starts to heat up and speed up, and then you get 4 or 5 large pieces of legislation passed, and that's sort of the session that you have. This was a different session, and I think any of you who were there know that it was, in fact, different in terms of the focus, in terms of the pace. We decided that in the first week of session, we wanted to introduce 15 major pieces of legislation, that those would be our first 15 bills that we would introduce on day one, both in the House and Senate. And then the House and Senate split those bills up, and we went to work in committees on day one to address those particular issues. So we had those 15 priorities, and then we added a number of other bills as we went through the session, which were important initiatives that, again, when you talk about the amount of work that our legislature did this year and the magnitude of those issues, I think it truly was historic, because we addressed not only 2 or 3 large issues, more in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 large issues that we addressed and took up and debated. And that meant a lot of late nights, a lot of time in, I know in judiciary in particular, Charles on the Senate side and John Shaw on the House side were there very, very late at night, often early in the morning the next day and late at night addressing and debating those bills. And they brought forth what I think is just a tremendous work product out of their committee that was again debated on the floor. But let me just touch on a few things. First of all, I know that the Attorney General talked about energy, what a priority energy is in our state. And we certainly set it as a priority in our legislature. One of the first things we did after November 4th was Bill and I agreed that we wanted to elevate the Energy Committee to major committee status. It had been a committee that only met once a week for an hour a week, and it was a part of a larger committee until the year before that. It was part of a committee that also took up economic development and industry and labor. So we had never really emphasized energy in our legislative process to match the emphasis that it truly has on our economy and our livelihood and well-being in our state. So that was one of the first steps we took to elevate that committee and truly put it in place, the place that it deserves in terms of priority in our state. And as a result of that, we did a number of things. We repealed what we believe was our West Virginia cap and trade, West Virginia version cap and trade, the renewable energy portfolio bill. That would have truly limited, under state law, the amount of energy we could produce through coal. That was the mistake when that was passed. We fought it very heavily. We were very pleased to be able to have that as the first bill that we sent to the governor in the legislative session was the repeal of that renewable energy portfolio. We also made sure that the legislature has some ability to oversee the regulations that are being submitted to the EPA under the 111D section of federal law. And we've heard a lot about that over the last few weeks. The new regulations that have come out of Washington that the Attorney General has been very diligent in fighting. We also took steps during this session to make sure we have oversight over this. We also updated our coal mine and safety laws. Some of those laws have not been updated since the 1970s. And they were antiquated. They did not assure the safety of our miners, and they also had some rules that miners had to face and to follow that really didn't have applicability in today's society. So we were able to do a comprehensive bill that I think will truly help our coal industry and also keep our miners safe. We looked at other areas of our economic picture, and we knew that truly there were 4 major areas. There was tax reform, which I know you're going to have a presentation later this afternoon from Delegate Nelson and I think Delegate Householder to talk about what we are doing now in interims to truly address tax reform in a larger picture. We felt like that while there were a number of areas that we knew we needed to address and discuss, we felt like that we had really needed a little more time to do this. So we're going to look at that in the end. We were able to really do some broad legal reform and regulatory reform. We revised our joint and several liability. We revised our trespass laws. We revised open and obvious doctrine, a number of different needs that we had in our legal climate that needed to be addressed. And then we also took some major steps in education. We know we have a lot more that we need to do, particularly in the area of education. So I don't want to go too much more into the weeds of the particular bills, but I do want to say that I know that I don't know, Chris, if you have, I think they're on the tables, a great brochure here, which was put together by Beck and the State Chamber, that goes through a number of the initiatives that we centered on during this legislative session. I know Bill will talk about more of those in his presentation, but I would really suggest you take a look at that. And you can see some of the major things that were addressed during this legislative session. Also, regulatory reform we had passed a bill that requires that all regulations, once they're passed, have to be revisited so that we can see if they're truly working. I think that's going to be a major help to our businesses in our state. But truly, we have emphasized and continue to emphasize the fact that we need to take bold steps, major steps, to improve our economic climate and put people back to work. We're going to continue to do that leading into the 2016 session. We thank you for the ideas that you brought to the table, and we certainly invite you to be a part of what we believe will be a truly historic session in 2016. So thank you very much for listening.